Epix presents the new original series, Get Shorty.
You asked me to make a movie with cash.
That a problem?
It's perfect, isn't it?
You're only as good as your next hit. Chris O'Dowd and Ray Romano. Get Shorty. Premieres Sunday, 10/9 Central on Epix.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz podcast.
Texter writes in, ESPNU is showing darts instead of your show. ROTFLMAO. That means that guy is laughing so much he fell on the ground and his butt fell off. You guys stink. Cancellation is right around the corner. Tubby. It's a good idea ESPN has today. ESPNU is the Ocho from Dodgeball. A lot of obscure sports on ESPNU, so we are on ESPN News. Thank you for all of you who have stayed with us, but you don't have to. Go over there. It's fun. ESPNU is where it's at today. That's the Ocho. Greg Cody of the Miami Herald in with us. Jason Taylor, Hall of Famer, will be with us later in the show. Ron McGill as well. But the Undefeated has put together a list of the top 50 black athletes of all time. Sports radio was made for lists. But I do not want to talk about this list. I want to make my own white people list, and I want to know how many white people would go in the black people list. Like, Tim Duncan is number 50 here. How many white people are we going to put on this list? Now, I don't like portions of this list. Gabby Douglas and Simone Biles are in the top 10, and LeBron James and Jim Brown are not in the top 28, and Steph Curry is ahead of LeBron James. What are you doing? The Undefeated, what are you doing?
I'm pretty certain Barry Bonds is nowhere on the list.
Barry's not on here. Barry Sanders is in the 40s. But okay, who is? I want to start here though. Who's the Michael Jordan of white people? This is what I want to start with.
Is it Larry Bird?
I think it's Tom Brady, isn't it?
Brady.
That'll
That's
be
a
Brady.
good one.
Brady?
The white goat.
Brady is a good one.
But how are they deciding this? What goes into deciding this? Because I'm confused by the Steph Curry thing for a bevy of reasons.
There are three categories. Good question, Mike. Dominance, inspiration, and impact on society.
All right, should we do this though? Let's do this as a biracial list as well then, since we're at it.
All right.
Because that's the joke Mike was making with Steph Curry, I think. So is the who's the Michael Jordan of biracial athletes? Is it Derek Jeter?
Ooh, Jeter.
It might be,
but Jeter's on the undefeated list.
You know who might sneak in there, and this is controversial, what I'm about to say here. Babe Ruth.
What?
Yes.
What?
And he might be, and Babe
I'm
Ruth,
about to
I
be
think would have
32
been funny.
years old. Are you about to tell me something that I've never known
Wait a minute.
about Babe Ruth?
I think the Undefeated would have had a better list. The Undefeated made a list. Look, they put Simone Biles and Gabby Douglas in the top 10 and didn't put LeBron James and Jim Brown in the top 29 because they wanted people talking about their list. You want people talking about your list? Put Babe Ruth on it. But don't put him number one. Put him in the 40s. And then just confound people.
Hold up. Rewind. Babe Ruth.
There are some thoughts that Babe Ruth might have been either just outright black or biracial.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Outright black.
I don't even know what that means. In fact, I want to walk that back right now. Whatever I said there, outright black, I don't even know what that means. I'm pulling that back, though. I'm offering a public apology.
Yep.
I don't.
Or just black.
That's right. So just black, biracial. Are we going to do a Native American? It's Jim Thorpe on that list. Are we going to do Asian?
Jeremy Lin.
Well,
Lee Na.
Yeah, Yao Ming and Sadaharu O.
Ooh, O is a good one.
But
Ichiro?
Ichiro. Yeah.
But
Darvish.
Yeah, but I feel Hideki Arabu. Now we're not actually doing athletes that might be famous over there. We're doing Asian athletes who have gotten famous over here.
Ichiro's famous over there.
I don't think we are qualified to do Asians here because we've got American Asians or Asian Americans or Asians made famous in America.
Antonio Inoki.
So here's the list.
Kobayashi.
Good. Dogging it.
Dogging it. Kobayashi is the hot dog eater, for those of you who don't know. I might put the Great Kabuki on the Asian list.
This whole Babe Ruth thing.
Yeah. Was he Asian?
I'm Googling pictures now.
Yeah.
And my mind is so open.
Wait a minute. So you guys, you had never heard that Babe Ruth might have actually been black?
No. This is the first time.
Hey, why do you think we sounded so surprised?
Which list is Sammy Sosa on?
Is there a Pepto-Bismol
No,
list?
pink,
The pink list.
pink athletes.
All of them.
No, The Rock is on all of them. And Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Cablinasian.
This Babe Ruth thing is amazing.
It really is.
Wait a minute, Mike. What are you learning over there that you did not know
Because
before?
I'm merely Google imaging him, and now it appears different to me than it did before.
All right, put it on the poll. Was Babe Ruth black?
The last time that this happened was when Bomani told me that Bono ripped Bob Marley off, and then I heard New Year's Day, and I was like, holy crap.
Well, I just learned recently. Did you guys know this? I did not know this until very recently, that Led Zeppelin was just ripping off a bunch of blues.
Yep. They got sued in a serious lawsuit.
Well, but I didn't know all of that until I read that lawsuit. That Led Zeppelin they were thieves. Mm-hmm. Now I know that all of music has some elements of thievery, but I did not know that I did not know that Led Zeppelin was stealing from blues. Put that on the poll as well. Did you know that Led Zeppelin was vigorously stealing from blues?
We're learning so much in this first
But
segment.
what are you learning about? What are you learning about Babe Ruth?
That
Tell
he
me
wasn't a
what
white
you
man?
It's a mystery, man.
In fact, the poll needs to be changed to: was Babe Ruth maybe black?
Okay. Was he maybe black?
Yes.
Put it on the poll. Maybe.
Yeah, but I believe you will read and you will find many articles about this. Go read the Undefeated story. This is all. We're doing this all to bring attention to the Undefeated's list of the top 50 black athletes. But I'm dead serious about this. White athletes. Who's at the top of it? Who's the top 5? Top 5 ever.
Wayne Gretzky,
Yep.
Roger Federer,
No doubt.
Good
Larry
list.
Bird.
Yeah, we worked on this.
Yeah, Larry Bird.
Yep.
Well, but Babe Ruth has to be on the list.
Well, he's
right?
black.
Well, okay, but assuming that Babe Ruth is white.
Until we clear it up, man.
Can we call stats and research?
I'm looking at a headline right here that says Babe Ruth's daughter says her dad would have broken baseball's color barrier. Another indication.
I'm telling you, I know we're shocking you here in 2017 with the breaking news that Babe Ruth might have been black, or we're shocking some of you. Mike Ryan is just disoriented. His entire worldview has been rattled, shaken, and shattered. Like, he's just confused. He's walking around in circles.
I mean, didn't John Goodman play him in a movie? Like, yeah. What is happening?
Bad casting.
It should have been. It should have.
Should have been Bing Rames.
James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones. Really? That's what just happened there. What just happened? I can't believe Babe Ruth wasn't white. John Goodman played him in a movie. John Goodman. Not a lot of people know this. Also black.
Don Le Batard.
Our players are held to a higher standard, and we can summarize it all in 3 words. Make that 4 words. We are the Lobos. Thank you.
Stugats.
We are the Lobos. We are the Lobos.
I don't know.
We are the Lobos. We are the Lobos.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Sports radio loves lists. We love making fun of sports radio, so the Undefeated has a list of the top 50 black athletes of all time, and we want to make our own lists of top 50 white athletes. Caitlyn Jenner has her own list. That she's the only one on that list, right, I think?
No. Dr. Renee Richards.
No, very good.
Nice.
Okay, so let's figure out how to make these lists. But before we go down this path, this dangerous path that might end all our careers, let's talk about what happened here before the show started nationally, which is Greg Cody of the Miami Herald is very cheap. He's in with us every Tuesday, and he stopped by the gas station and learned that cigarettes are $7. He learned this because he wanted to make the joke of, in honor of Jay Cutler being the Miami Dolphins quarterback, all of us here in the studio today would have cigarettes in our mouth as we did the show on ESPN News, and we wouldn't even mention it. We would just have cigarettes in our mouth to celebrate Jay Cutler as a visual joke to the ESPN News audience. However, right before the show started, and I had a cigarette hanging, stuck to my bottom lip. It wasn't how anyone would smoke it, or you've ever seen anyone who is a smoker. It was hanging from my bottom lip, just stuck there. as this was happening, I was told by a vaguely panicked Mike Ryan that a more panicked Lorenzo was going crazy in Washington because you're not allowed to have cigarettes on television. Now, I did not know this, first of all. Second of all, what I wanted to ask you guys is, aren't the rules different for cable television? Because I saw Zach Galifianakis smoking a joint on Bill Maher's show. And, you know, when Jesus and Mero came through here, they had a blunt on the desk. They
Right.
They had a grinder, yeah. They told us to remove that, though. Cable's not ruled by the same sort of FCC regulations that other, like the networks CBS, NBC, Fox, ABC. However, networks like ESPN hold themselves to that standard, and it has to do with advertising and just a moral compass that this company has.
All right, well, wait a minute. A moral compass this company has while airing professional football. Okay.
Not the same.
I mean,
It's not
I
the
mean,
same.
it is.
That
Well,
guy.
no, what's going on with concussions is kind of the same as the tobacco industry. Yes, it is kind of the same. Yes, it is actually kind of the same.
Sure.
Okay.
You guys are going to tell me it's not the same? What's going on with concussions in football, it parallels what's going on, what happened in the tobacco industry with now they're denying the science. Every report that comes out, they're denying every report. They're just, I mean, Roger Goodell is big tobacco. Like that's,
I know with 100% certainty that smoking cigarettes is bad for me and could cause me to die, could cause cancer. I am not 100% certain.
Yes, you are.
I'm not 100%
You're
certain.
100%
Roger Goodell told me that I can live longer if I play football.
That's right.
Well, that was actually funny because one of the reasons that was funny is that Roger Goodell isn't factoring any of the math on the idea that the average person's death is at a certain age because a whole lot of young people also die in a way that they're not allowed to participate in football. You know, young people die. The mortality rate, median mortality rate among all people is going to be made lower by young people dying. Anyway, getting off point here.
Would you prefer your kid smoke a pack of cigarettes a day or play football every day?
That's a great question right there.
Yeah, I'm in on that hypothetical.
That's a great question. No. Would you prefer that someone you love smoke a pack of cigarettes every Sunday?
Or waiting it. But
Every Sunday,
is
huh?
this the way that we wait it
Or plays
precisely?
professional football every
That's a
Sunday?
good one.
Cutler does both.
Anyway, I don't know
Throw
why
in a pint of whiskey. Throw in a pint of vodka.
Into what? The question I'm
And
asking?
make it a triangular question.
Why are we doing that?
Well, because, you have your choices now. You're playing football, you're smoking a pack of cigarettes, or you're drinking.
But I think his
right
larger
out of a
point
bottle.
was we're airing football, but we can't have a cigarette in our
You
mouth.
can't
He didn't
have-
bring up alcohol.
You also
Right.
can't be chugging from a 40 either.
Wait a minute.
You can't be smoking weed.
I was chugging from a giant flask here one day, an oversized flask.
Theater of the mind, Dan.
What do you think's in here, by the way?
All right. We're on the radio mostly, so if you're going to make visual jokes,
Well, I held it up.
we're on the radio mostly.
Oh, right.
The radio audience still couldn't see it when you
I know,
held it
but
up.
I'm holding up the world's biggest flask, which may or may not be filled with coffee.
All right, get out of here. Get out of here. Just go to the penalty box.
There was nothing wrong with that
Well,
comment.
I mean,
It's
you tried to
just
defend
awful,
yourself
just
of holding it
awful.
up. Like,
Thank you.
Just awful.
no, don't thank me. I'm
Oh,
agreeing with you.
Buddy,
Oh, I
2
thought you
minutes
were-
in the box.
I thought you had my back, Jack.
All right, no.
I usually do, but in this case, I understand.
I mean, I wanted to give him the chance to stay here, but like he kept making it worse.
What's in your heart? Heart.
What's in your heart?
All right, so I want to ask these questions on the poll at Le Batard Show. Did you know that you could get in trouble for having cigarettes on television? Yes or no? Because I know the NFL, and this is just the funny arbitrary moralities are amazing. Like the NFL, you're not allowed to, they don't take any tobacco sponsorships, right?
They do not. I don't think anyone really takes tobacco sponsorships.
Nobody really does.
I know, but it's just funny because they take no tobacco sponsorships, but good God, they get a lot of alcohol sponsorships. I think Anheuser-Busch, can you check this for me? How much does it cost Anheuser-Busch $1.2 billion to simply be the official beer of the NFL? I'm pretty sure the number is in the billions.
Looks like $1.4 billion. Bud Light. beer of the NFL through 2022 for $1.4 billion.
I mean, the arbitrary moralities of this, of the idea of not taking tobacco money. You know what's going to happen here? This is what's funny about what's going to happen here in 20 years. Marijuana is going to be an NFL sponsor in about 20 years.
100%.
Once the stigma is fallen on all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden the government decides that, hey, this is no longer illegal, so therefore it's no longer immoral.
From a Darren Ravel article 2 years ago, it's $1.5 billion that that Anheuser-Busch extended with the NFL. They extended their partnership through 2020. It pays them roughly $250 million a year.
Wait a minute, $250 million a year. Okay, so the total package.
Correct. It's not annually. Their partnership is extended through 2022.
Okay. So the
it's
total
a $1.5 billion dollar deal.
Did Stugotz read the internet wrong? Does he get a fine?
No. I did not read it wrong.
You asked what the deal was. He gave you 1.4, which was pretty much on the money.
But think about what I'm saying for a second. The idea that you would ban, and we talk about this all the time around here. I don't love the idea of the government making laws for me. I will decide for me what is right and what is wrong. I don't like the government doing these kinds of moralities where in 1920s alcohol is illegal and then it's not. And in the 1950s there's not a stigma on cigarettes and then there is. Marijuana in 20 years is going to be so much different than where we were 20 years ago. Like this argument that we're having in the present day of Roger Goodell saying that marijuana is still banned in the NFL and that he's got to go to the players union and is thinking about conceding that is going to look so laughable in 20 years. Laughable about how far behind the NFL was given the pain business that they're in.
But what exactly are you suggesting he does? Like, are you saying
be a leader?
Have vision.
Be a leader,
and
don't
do
be a
now.
follower.
Listen to your players.
You're really powerful, you have a lot of money, be a leader, don't be a follower.
I'm with that.
Now, I know what he's going to do. What he's going to do is make sure he gets something in return for it. It's going to become another thing that is negotiated. He's not going to just bend over or fall over. Fall over is probably better than bend over.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Hey, buddy, the wait is over. It's the 2017 Suey Awards, starting August 21st. The Suey Awards. Don Le Batard.
On the reg. Popping it out.
On the reg.
Why were you doing that?
That's how we talked, Dan.
Who's the we that we talk this way?
Young people like Sue and me.
Yep.
Slang. LOL.
Tell him, Greg.
Stugotz.
Look at Greg Cody trying to get into the hipster conversation
LOL.
with an LOL.
Right. ICYMI. I just said LOL.
SMH.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, the NFL is the oil, gas, coal extraction industries that pay politicians, lobbyists, and TV personalities to deny climate science. Doctors on CTE, like climate scientists, are basically in unanimity about what they are studying. There is no doubt climate change is occurring, and it's exacerbated by human activity, like playing football leads to brain damage. But the money in both industries has created a disinformation campaign allowed to keep them alive. It's sad, and it soured me to what used to be my favorite sport. I don't know how we got from Greg Cody in a gas station buying cigarettes for $7 to here exactly, where we're talking again about the dangers of football.
Well, I asked that question. Would you rather your kids smoke cigarettes every day or play football every day?
Well, just the idea, though, that people think that they're different. I'm not real sure. Like, we now know that much like the cigarette industry, we thought it might be harmful, but then science got involved and told us, oh, yeah, it's harmful. And then all the rules changed about cigarettes, and instead of it being glamorized, it became a stigma, such a stigma that it can't even advertise on television.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And football is in a parallel state right now, where scientists are telling you, yeah, it's causing brain damage. And we try not to do things that cause that kind of brain damage, and we're headed down the similar path of now Roger Goodell's out in front of us all the time telling us, yeah, ignore that science, or that science isn't. We don't know exactly what that science means. They're just kicking the can down the road. Eventually, what the science is going to mean is, the sport is killing its people.
Do you want a legal disclaimer like cigarettes have on the box now?
Well, we're going to get there. I don't know what it's going to look like exactly, but we're going to get to Surgeon General's warning at some point in our lifetime.
But it's also a freedom of choice issue. I thought of this the other day when you were railing about how dangerous motorcycles are. Sure they are. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't be sold and ridden by those who want to do it. I know that drinking too much beer is bad for me. Cigarette smokers know it's bad for them, but they enjoy it enough where they're willing to take that risk. Football players are like the last people to say how dangerous the sport is. They make a great lucrative living, more than they could make doing other things probably, and so that's enough to take that risk. I mean, you can't legislate everything. You can present the dangers of it and allow people to make their decisions.
So paying is the difference, paying millions of dollars. I'm not saying you're wrong. But
it's a huge factor, sure.
Well, yes, obviously it is. They know they're doing something dangerous. If you told a non-smoker, I'll pay you $1 million a year to smoke a pack a day, I'm guessing a lot of people would become smokers.
Well, but when you put it that way, though, if you have to agree with the analogy, because if you agree with the analogy, what we are doing on Sundays is absolutely paying those people to harm themselves for our entertainment. That's what Sundays are.
Yes.
And more and more, as more Pulitzer Prize winning work is being done around CTE, and as Will Smith is making bad movies, concussion movies. Hold on a second. I got a filibuster here. Concussion movies in which they're put out on Christmas, and Will Smith tries to win the Oscar by going after an important societal issue with an accent.
Tell the truth.
Thank you. I had to filibuster there in order to get there.
Tell the truth.
And now I forgot my original point because I was wandering and filibustering in order to get you to Will Smith and his terrible accent in a movie that was universally panned, and Roger Goodell secretly delighted in it being a budget colossal failure.
Tell the truth.
In fact, Roger Goodell is enjoying Will Smith's descent into horrible movie after horrible movie.
Tell the truth.
He did get a Golden Globe nomination out of it.
Roger Goodell is...
How?
Roger Goodell is...
Tell the truth.
Hoping that Will Smith's movie career metaphorically begins to look like that Happiness movie that he did. He wants Will Smith...
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. Well, he wants Will Smith metaphorically walking through the desert of his career holding just a suitcase filled with DVDs, The Legend of Bagger Vance in it.
Tell the truth.
Sans happy ending.
Right. During the most desperate parts. Roger Goodell, because Will Smith made that movie, Roger Goodell hopes that the rest of Will Smith's movie career is him walking through a wilderness with his son. What's his kid's name?
Jaden. That is the last good movie he's had, right?
No doubt.
I don't want to do this again.
I like doing this show.
I love it.
Come on. It's August. Let's do the what the hell happened to Will Smith's career show, please.
Oh.
Well, I've got the exact tipping point. This conversation, we have a handful of movie conversations around here that we delight in having. One of them is Scarface and how it used only white people to represent brown people in a movie about Cubans. It's just amazing. Go look at the IMDb for Scarface and look at how many Epsteins are there playing brown people. There's that conversation that we love having. There's this conversation that we love having.
Robert Loggia.
Yeah, I know, Robert Loggia. There's this conversation we love having about Will Smith's career and how what is he doing with Netflix now? He's playing something in Netflix with
it's a cop drama where his partner is an orc.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so that's Will Smith's career, and Roger Goodell is happy about that. But the third conversation that we always love having around here is when Al Pacino went from master thespian to just a guy who screams all the time. And I think the exact tipping point on that, I just saw it the other day, and I didn't realize who was on the other end of this scene. The exact tipping point on when Al Pacino went from thespian to simply guy who screams every line was in the middle of Heat when he's shouting, "'Cause she's got a great ass!" ass at Hank Azaria. Our friend Hank Azaria was sitting there, and the next time we have Hank Azaria on, you guys have to remind me to ask him, did he realize that he was sitting there staring at the very moment that a master thespian became a yelling clown show?
I think you're right. I think that's the spot. Not too far after that, The Devil's Advocate, he yelled a lot in that movie, and then Any Given Sunday.
No, yes, he became somebody who went, he decided to take a career pivot. Look, I want to go from being respected thespian to just someone who screams everything. That's the exact moment in the middle of Heat. I guess you could put this on the poll, please. For De Niro and Pacino, was Heat the tipping point on them caring?
Oh, it was so good, though.
I know, but was that the tipping point? Was that right in the middle of the both of them? They decided to get together for the first time.
Are you saying Heat was really good?
Oh, yeah, Heat was excellent.
I was a bit underrated. My expectations were so high for that movie.
Overrated. Do you not know how to do that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant overrated. I'm sorry about that.
Did Val Kilmer get nominated for that movie?
I think he did.
No.
I think he did, actually, yes.
Regardless, not my point.
Nominated for what, Roy says? I don't know. Ponytail? He had a great ponytail.
Val Kilmer, was that even a real ponytail?
Of course not. I miss Val Kilmer.
So do I.
Hasn't he gotten bloated and creepy?
He got sick. Sorry to throw that dead fish in your lap.
Sick.
I had coffee with my colleague half an hour ago.
Sick is so much kinder than bloated and creepy, which I thought he became without the sickness.
I think he became bloated and creepy before the sickness, too.
All right, I want to apologize publicly to Val Kilmer, not where I thought this show would end up today. I also want to apologize to Roger Goodell for bending him over last segment instead of telling him to fall back. Who else do I need to apologize to? And Tony Baselli for doing the same football show, Football is Violent show that we've done that makes him angry every time.
My apologies. It was a Grammy nomination for Best Spoken Word.
Oh,
sorry, Val.
De Niro did Casino after that, and there's a good point by a texter. Scent of a Woman may have been the point where Pacino just started screaming,
yes.
And that was before Heat.
He never fell out of that character.
Blind guy.
Yes.
You may have shaved yesterday, but remember, your facial hair continues to grow throughout the week. Keep your beard at bay using the tools from the good folks at Dollar Shave Club.
I see where I got it wrong. He was nominated for an MTV Movie Award, Most Desirable Male. What?
Don Le Batard.
Am I holding Cody back? Because we get this all the time. When Cody's on Kornheiser's show, when he's outside the lines, when he's on Mike and Mike, he gets a lot of response. Wait a minute. You are a journalist. You're good at this.
Stugats.
Well, I think of myself as a professional chameleon. If I'm in a blue room, I turn blue. If I'm in a Technicolor room, I look like the Jeff Gordon logo. If Kornheiser wants to ask me a really serious question, I'm going to answer in kind. If I'm on with somebody who wants to yuck it up, I'm going to put on a party hat. You know what I'm saying?
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
I forgot to wish you guys a happy J.J. Watt Day. It is 8-8.
8-8. It is August 8th. 8-8. Happy J.J. Watt Day to all of you. Texter writes in, does Urban Meyer look like the actor who would be cast as the father of the rich antagonist family who competes with the lovable Robert De Niro's family at the annual summer games at Camp Green Lake, who when finally he takes on De Niro in the final competition, loses and learns humility through the experience?
Oh. Yes.
Yes. Okay,
yes,
he does
good.
look like that.
That was meandering, that one.
Greg Cody of the Miami Herald in with us, and I want to give you guys a real look of what just happened here on the televisions. Because ESPN has many, many sports networks, and because there are more sports news networks than there is actual sports news, I just looked up at the television. And Mike Ryan, what was First Take discussing? I was, I'll tell you what my reaction was to it in a second.
On the lower third, a First Take just a couple minutes ago. Dan Le Batard supports Colin Kaepernick over Jay Cutler. Is Le Batard right here?
And I looked at it, and my genuine response was, I do? I did? When did I do and when did I did?
That's a body of work thing.
Right.
They're just assuming.
Yeah, perhaps they just assumed.
Well, but what's funnier about that, this is in real time, this is actually how it happened, and it's great for a number of different reasons, not the least of which, Cody, is that as I'm going, I did, and looking at First Take, under his breath next to me, Stu Gatz is saying, I said the same thing this morning on Mike and Mike. He's not saying it to admit that he stole it. He's saying it to show that he wants his name up there on First Take, saying Stu Gatz supports Colin Kaepernick over Jay Cutler. So I'm sitting here looking at the TV going, I did. And Stu Gatz is saying, why isn't that me?
Seriously, man. They would never debate something I said on any of these platforms.
Never would.
Never. They
never
how
would. Absurd that would look.
Right.
Stu Gatz says
yes.
driving a national topic.
But I want you guys to look in our studio and imagine what that looked like. Me looking at the television going, I did, and Stu Gatz saying, I said that. Well, I said that this morning. Why aren't they debating what I said? So it's Stu Gatz's stolen take from me that I'm not sure I made. I'm not positive, but if I did make it, then Stu Gatz stole it. If Stu Gatz made it, then it was stolen.
Yep, no doubt. I don't know where I stole it from or who I stole it from, but I stole it.
I don't know if you stole it from me. I'm not sure.
I don't think I stole this one from you.
But what I'm saying is I'm not sure. I'm watching First Take, and I'm like, did I support Colin Kaepernick? Where did I do that? When did I do that?
But it would be the kind of thing you supported. So
well, but I think I'm up there because they're doing the clashes between Cubans and blacks. And look, even this Cuban was willing to put down the Fidel Castro T-shirt and support Kaepernick over Jay Cutler. All I said really
was basically that. It was a little more eloquent than that.
No, but all I was saying was, they're pretty equal.
I don't really care.
They really support. No sé. La misma cosa.
I think there was a conversation about topics, and someone said, hey, Le Batard supports Kaepernick, and then their response was, well, did he actually ever say that? And someone's like, he did. Just put it on the show sheet. What do you think, Greg?
He's been so quiet for so long.
I agree with everything said.
You are listening to Dan, Stu, and Cody on ESPN Radio.
Hi, everyone. Stu Gatz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
You're listening to Love Advice with Leanne. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Leanne. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Why, in your professional opinion, do you never take my calls off the air?
Is this Carl?
Yep, it's Carl. I mean, we had a few dates. Everything was great. I thought,
Well, when you switch to Geico, you could save a lot of money on car insurance.
Okay, awesome.
You should call them.
I will.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
The Citi Double Cash Card presents Tips for Working Out. Number 4, don't back down.
I'm going to increase my speed to see if you can keep up.
Running through pain to try to impress you.
Okay.
I'm barely keeping up.
Wouldn't it be great if everyone said what they meant? The Citi Double Cash Card does. It lets you earn double cash back with 1% when you buy and 1% as you pay. The Citi Double Cash Card. Double means double.
Dan Le Batard.
I just looked over my shoulder where Max and Stephen A. were talking to Snoop Dogg about whether or not LeBron is top 5 all time. Get the hell out of here.
Stu Gatz.
Who's responsible? Is that you, Salatoro? Who's responsible for that at ESPN? Because that person needs to be punished publicly. Brofsky, is that you? Roberts, bald guy in sales. Who did that? You waste his time with is LeBron top 5 all time. I hate you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stu Gatz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Comparing rates to help you save. Now that's Progressive. Call or click today and find out how much Progressive could save you. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back Doug Martin has been suspended for the first 3 games of the season after testing positive for a performance-enhancing substance last year. Former Patriots defensive tackle Vince Wilfork has announced his retirement. And finally, A man survived being stranded for 45 hours in the Arizona desert after his car broke down. The man just had a water bottle, a couple of beers, some crackers, and a spoiled sandwich. When those ran out, he survived by drinking water from nearby creeks and even his own urine. At daybreak on the third day, more than 48 hours after becoming stranded, the man spotted a dirt biker over the horizon and flagged him down. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Allison, get that guy. I want to talk to that guy, please. Find that guy. I want to talk to the guy who was lost in the desert.
Oh, I thought you meant Vince Wilfork or Doug Martin.
Greg Cody of the Miami Herald with us on ESPN Radio.
It's kind of been bad today.
The show's been bad today?
No, Greg.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, he's been terrible.
No, I thought I've been pretty good, like above average.
No.
Like better than usual.
No.
That's surprising to hear. Very disappointing.
No,
Let's get Will Fork into the Hall of Fame, by the way. Let's make that happen. Okay?
Are you looking at your phone right now? I thought you were looking up research. You were just looking at your phone checking text?
No, I was doing both.
You weren't doing both.
I was typing in Will Fork Hall of Fame.
Get out of here, Cody.
No!
Get out of here. Go to the penalty box.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I don't think Vince needs our help either.
I don't know about that.
Greg Cody, 2 minutes in the box.
Honestly.
Anti-Will Fork.
What?
Trying to do a good thing for a UM guy.
All right. Yeah.
But do it off air.
That's fine, man. Just all right. Go Will Fork yourself.
I mean, his best lines are when he's leaving this room.
He's just terrible. He's sitting at the microphone, and I don't understand why he won't become just slightly more professional. We've managed, Stugaz is a chimpanzee, and we've managed to make him slightly more professional. Yesterday, he puts on a jacket, he shaves for highly questionable, just slightly more professional.
It's a contract here. His deal's expiring soon. Turn it on, man.
I think in his mind, he is turning it on.
I do. So what I wanted to ask you guys is this question, and then I will leave the subject alone.
All right.
But when it comes to marijuana use in the NFL, don't you think that most reasonable, discerning people, and maybe I'm wrong about this, maybe there are some people out there who have the stigma with marijuana that I'm simply wrong about what I'm about to say, but I believe that most discerning people would say to you that it is the height of moral inconsistency to ban marijuana in the NFL and to be okay with opiates.
I totally agree with you.
But I think most people would agree with that. Most reasonable people, unless you think that marijuana is the devil's plan and you're dancing around it because you think it's some sort of voodoo that requires an exorcism and is the source of sin in the world.
But Dan, here's what people are doing. In some states, it's legal, okay? You get a prescription from your doctor whom you trust to go get something to help your hurting body or to help you get rid of the flu. And so it feels more normal. It feels more official that you're walking in with a note from your doctor saying, hey, I need this. This is good for me. You're not doing that. In some states you are with marijuana, but in most states you're not. There is still a seediness to going to the purchasing of marijuana and smoking marijuana in many different places. There is. It's a big difference.
I just think we now understand.
That's what my friends tell me. I don't really know. I'm just telling you, listen, I got my ear on the streets, and that's what my friends are telling me. And they're telling me that even though the stigma is not nearly as bad as it used to be, there is still a seed. You still get arrested for it. You're not going to get arrested. You walk in with a prescription for Oxy. You're just not.
I know, but these are the dangers of allowing the government and to make the rules for you. The idea that we fool around with opiates when they are more dangerous than marijuana by a good amount is an arbitrary morality that is at best inconsistent. And then if you want to find out where the money goes on opiates and the healthcare industry can be vastly more sinister than what it is that I'm saying. So Greg Cody of the Miami Herald has returned. We'll see if he's any better. Now, David Griffin was saying that Kyrie Irving...
Just on your point real quick, I went to a music festival last week, and there's always people at these festivals trying to sell you drugs. And I like to disarm people by, when they come up to me, offering me all sorts of Molly and weed. I'd just say, no, but I could really use some heroin, just to see the look on their face, and the drug dealers judge me. Really? You're here at Lollapalooza selling Molly, and you're judging me. You didn't have, unfortunately.
Nobody ever has? What are you going to do the one time when they have it?
I'd be so embarrassed, I'd probably just buy it at that point and throw it away.
Did you really?
So sorry.
I just buy it at that point,
Get
use
arrested,
use it real quick, develop a terrible habit, and then overdose.
Why do you get pressured into sales, dude? Like, what's the matter with you?
I feel so bad
You
for the
bought a
drug
beard comb and returned it in a different state.
Yeah, he's a weirdo. But you're shameless. I think you guys are on the spectrum at opposite extreme. On shame, there's Stugatz over here, totally shameless. More shameless than William H. Macy. And over here is Mike Ryan buying a beard brush in New York for $65 because he loves that the salesperson is so good, and then returning it in Miami because he just didn't want to pay $65 for a beard brush and also didn't want to insult the guy that he had made feel so good in New York.
It was a little uncomfortable when I returned it because the lady at the register said, "What? World Trade Center, New York? What? Mm-hmm. What?"
You knew you were doing something wrong.
Yeah, I did. And she said, "Why?" And I made something up about how I didn't like how it felt.
I don't have
in
a
my
beard
hands.
anymore, you said to her while staring right at her.
While wearing a trench coat and pulling it over my face. Because, I don't have a beard.
What do you think of David Griffin, the former Cavs general manager, saying that Kyrie Irving was courageous in doing what it is that he did?
I think when you're a former general manager, you can afford to make a statement like that. If a current general manager said that, I would be a little more impressed.
I mean, what'd he do that's so courageous? He went to the owner and said, I want to be traded because I think I'll be happier somewhere else?
Privately. Did it privately.
So, that's not courageous. It's not courageous. There's nothing courageous about it. He did what he thinks is the best for Kyrie Irving, and I'm okay with that. But can we stop using the word courageous? He's making $90 million. He walked into a guy's office and said, I want to go play somewhere else. Courageous, please.
I'm with you. The word is too strong and probably doesn't apply here. But I will say this in Kyrie Irving's behalf. We have acknowledged by consensus that whether you're doing it Carmelo Anthony's way or LeBron James's way or Kevin Durant's way, we have acknowledged there is no right way to do it. You're going to get people mad at you. The player having the power is going to make the customer uneasy because selfish interests are going to trump mythological selfless interests. But this is the best anybody's done it. We'll make it messy for anybody. He did it better than Paul George. It's been done by everybody, and it can't be done correctly. Cannot be. But this is the best of all the bad options because gave him plenty of notice, did it privately, not his fault it leaked, gave him a chance to trade him. It's the best I've seen. Now, I know it's a mess because they're a team that's in the championship round and LeBron is there and everything's going to get noisier around LeBron. But if you're going to do that, plenty of notice, got 2 years, hey, I'm out of here. I bet you the Miami Heat would have appreciated that when LeBron was here, and I bet you Cleveland would have appreciated it.
It doesn't mean it's going to be because of him.
This is so fun, but we got to go.
We also take into consideration, chill. The bottom line is this. When you look at Jay Cutler, he might be a byproduct of it. They may be successful in spite of him. It damn sure ain't going to be because of him.
Dancing now. Wait. I'd like to judge one thing. Stephen A. says he's the worst quarterback in football. Where do you rank him, Will? How would you describe Jay Cutler?
He's probably around, at this point?
Yes.
This year.
Okay.
Yeah. Turn off, Will.
Wow. All right. If you're just joining us, we do this on occasion. We break into programming. Let me clue some people in on what the joke is. This is the sound we make whenever we are breaking in on First Take. This is Stephen A. Smith. Now, the backstory on that is that Stephen A. Smith learned while live on the radio. I think the news was that Magic Johnson had just become the head boss CEO of the Lakers. And so Stephen A. was so happy about it that he did a jubilant oratory dance on the radio upon hearing the news. And so the reason that we play the sound we just played to intro First Take is here.
It is official, ladies and gentlemen. It is official. The Los
Angeles Lakers have just announced minutes ago during the commercial break that Magic Johnson, Irvin Magic Johnson, is the new president of basketball operations for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I have never been that excited during sex.
Don Batard.
What do you prefer, flat wings or drumsticks? Because I like drumsticks.
I like drumsticks too, yeah.
Flat rules.
Stugats.
If people do just drums, though, you'd think there's a bunch of extra flat wings just laying around, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think more people do all flats, though.
No,
Really?
I think more people do drumettes. I'm telling you, more
Wait a
people do
minute.
the drumettes.
I like drumettes so much more.
no.
In fact, I'd prefer to do all drums.
Flatten it.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Ellison has located Mick Oman. He was lost in the desert for days, drinking his own urine, so he's here to live to tell about it. Thank you, Mick, for making time for us. What happened? How long were you lost in the desert? How did you get lost in the desert?
Well, good morning, guys. And yes, I'm legendary for drinking my own urine. I was lost last Thursday, on the 27th. From at 3:00 is when my transmission flew a hole in it, and I didn't get home until 4:30 Saturday night. And so it was a long little journey in the woods, into the wilderness.
All right, what was the most uncomfortable part about it? Drinking your own urine or something else?
Well, it was very difficult. The situation I was in, I was way down between two mountains, and way down in the gully, and I had to try to get a phone signal, so I had to go back up, and I was probably had to climb about an 800-foot peak, and there's in Arizona, there's not a friendly bush out here. Everything's got thorns in it, and it's very loose rock everywhere, and so it was a very difficult climb to get up there. And it's 3:00 in the afternoon. It was 100+ degrees, and I was not prepared for this, so I didn't have any water, and that was the hardest part, just getting up there, and just to find out I never did have a signal. It was completely dead up there. And so coming back down, I was completely saturated. I mean, sweat running up the end of my nose. It was like I just stepped out of a shower, and I needed water. I drank my last half a bottle of water. And then fortunately, my truck still ran. I have an air conditioner, so I could sit inside the cab and cool down after that rock. Really the whole urine thing wasn't as obnoxious as you would think, other than the temperature. I wasn't bitter or wasn't salty. It actually worked. I mean,
wow,
it really quenched
you're
my
answering
thirst.
questions I haven't even asked.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second.
Sorry, man.
But Mick, at any point during this ordeal for you, did you fear for your life?
Oh yeah. In fact, in case something happened, I posted. I made a video to explain my situation, how I got there, and I just wanted my sisters to know how much I loved them, and my niece and nephew, and that was heartfelt. That was really a hard little thing to make. I got pretty emotional there. Yeah, I did a lot of praying, you guys. I have a lot of faith in God above, and I mean I really felt like there was a presence with me out there, and but there was, I had my doubts, boy. I'll tell you,
You were traveling on an expedition to a mining ghost town by yourself. Is that something you do a lot? You take these trips by yourself to odd places?
Well, I'm kind of semi-retired down here, and I just moved to Arizona, so mountains are new to me. I love getting up. I love the scenery is phenomenal, and I love driving the switchbacks, back and forth, and these little windy roads. And so, I've done Prescott and Payson and, Sedona. This is all gorgeous country out here. And I like to do them normally with friends and whatnot. But that morning I just got up and I decided to go have lunch up there. I didn't plan on going off into where I got. I mean,
Did you run into any animals? Were there any animal situations?
Well, what I was going to do is one of my strategies was to actually I know it sounds stupid, to actually set the mountain on fire. And so in order to do that, I had to grab sticks, and there was there's wild mule out there, and I was grabbing dried dung and whatnot. And when I grabbed a piece of that dung, I ripped open a scorpion nest. That got my attention. Other than that, I hadn't really seen anything. On my way out of there, when I walked that Saturday morning, I came across some outline tracks in the sand, and I followed those. He was going the opposite direction I was, because it had rained that night. So it was fresh sand. I could see his tracks, and they were big paws. Wow. But I followed those for about 800 yards. We had shared the same path, so he might have been out in the bushes watching me. And I mean, thank goodness he had a belly full, because I didn't want to have to encounter him. But other than that, no, I really didn't see anything. I never saw.
Other than that, right?
Right.
Yeah, but Mick, before you drank your own pee, before you resorted to that, you ate a spoiled sandwich. What kind of sandwich was it?
Of course, great question.
Well, you know what? That was a leftover sandwich from lunch. You know, I went up to that little Prospector Mall, it's called, and I had a bowl of chili, and I ordered a hoagie. And so the hoagie had mayo on it. And so I had half of that left, and I put it in that cooler, and all I had was those little ice packs, and they don't last, worth squat. So I actually saved them for the next morning, thinking I'd need strength. And when I opened up the cooler, it was really, it was actually hot in there, and it had started to turn, so I just whipped it into the weeds. That's the last thing I need is a case of botulism out in the middle of the desert,
Agreed.
Yeah, totally.
Agreed.
Are wrap sandwiches?
What's that?
Do you consider a wrap to be a sandwich?
It was a hoagie sandwich that she had wrapped up for me. It was left over.
No, that's not what he's asking.
Have you ever had a wrap, like a wrap sandwich? Like a wrap, just a wrap.
Yeah, like a chicken wrap or whatever. Yeah.
Do you consider that to be a sandwich?
That or a burrito, if you want to call it. I don't know.
Not a sandwich. It's a burrito. All right, Mick, thank you for answering all the important questions. We appreciate it, and congratulations. Happy for you.
Wrap.
Happy chicken wrap? Is that what you just muttered? Okay, that's a good way to end the segment.
Don Batard.
I tell you, I have a knife, Swiss Army knife, and I'm ready to go.
All right,
whatever you need. I can start a fire with 2 sticks, just like you hear about. I've done it.
Stugats.
You've never done it.
I have done it.
No, you
surviving it.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
So, what did you guys think of that interview we just did? I'm asking both the audience and Greg Cody of the Miami Herald and Stugats.
I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it was awful.
You did?
Well, I felt like, first off, he tried to answer every single question with his first answer. And so there was really no rhythm to the interview. I just didn't feel, man, I hate doing this. We were fine. He wasn't. There, I said it.
He was saved by a nearby cyclist came by and noticed him, and that is how he was saved. I do feel like there were some unanswered questions in that interview, but I guess what I gathered from the way that he answered the urine question is a lot of people have probably been asking him, what does urine taste like? So he segued straight into
salty.
Yeah, what it tasted like before we had even asked him. Regardless, put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. What did you think of that? Good or not good?
I don't think he said salty, right? He said bland.
He said the opposite of salty.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Cody
what you would
wasn't
think.
listening.
Oh, I thought he said salty, because I always imagine urine being salty.
Cody wasn't listening, and I wasn't listening to Cody, and now you know what Tuesdays are like for all of us.
I thought it was interesting, this guy. I mean, he had to confront his own death. It almost reminded me, remember a couple of years ago when the former NFL player Rob Conrad was lost at sea? Mm-hmm. Similar situation, maybe not quite as dire. I thought it was interesting.
Time now for Greg Cody's Back in My Day.
And now, it is time to take a trip down memory lane. Here's your guide, Greg Cody, with Back in My Day.
Pencils! If you don't think I'm a man of simple pleasures and tastes, ask me the most unexpected delight of our recent European vacation. We'd checked into our room at a lovely Barcelona hotel called the Cotton House, and sitting there atop the notepads in the room were elegant black pencils. New pencils. Erasers unused. Lead at a fine point. The memory reeled, wafting fondly back to childhood, to tests in noisy classrooms, to the odd insistence that filling in those bubbles for those multiple choice answers demanded one of the sturdy infantry of the pencil troops, the yellow Ticonderoga No. 2. Whatever happened to the noble pencil? History romanticized the quill pen, grudgingly tolerated the unnatural abomination of the mechanical pencil, and resigned itself to the mass production of Bics ballpoint. All the while, the pencil was there, devalued, quietly content with the background, waiting for nostalgia to sweep it back into relevance. Still waiting and waiting. It wasn't pens that beggars sold from their tin cups during the Depression. It was pencils. The world's greatest sketches and poetry arose from lead points, the font of creativity. There was an art to the very act of pencil sharpening, to shaving the wood head with economical strokes that told the world whether you were a true pencil man or an imposter. The debate of round barrel versus roll-inhibiting panels raged within the pencil community. This was back when cursive wasn't a swear word, when penmanship reigned, but as pencilmanship. It was when emails and texts didn't masquerade as communication, when post offices bustled with vitality, when we wrote letters to one another, longhand galloping over the page in glorious lead, words slaloming to the finish line. Take a moment today.
Yes.
Look in your junk drawer and find a pencil.
Yes.
The one unseen for 10 years and unused for longer.
Yes.
Favorite with a fresh point.
Yes.
Smell the cut wood. Place that lead on blank paper and dream again. I'm Greg Cody, and that's how it was back in my day.
Glory be to God! Put it on the poll. Do you own a pencil? I'm dead serious. I could not go into my house right now and find you a pencil.
Sad.
Do you own a pencil? Let's go around the room here. Roy, if you went through your house, are we going to find a pencil?
Yes.
Mike, if we go through your house, we're going to find a pencil.
So many pencils in my house.
Nice.
Allison.
Yes.
Chris Cody.
No.
What?
Wow.
Stugat?
Zebra pencils only.
I could not find a pencil in my house right now if I had to. Do you have a sharpener? If you have a pencil, you have to have a sharpener, right?
I feel like there's a lot of things you can't find in your house.
That's true. Mike, do I have a pencil? Do you have a sharpener, too?
I do. I have an electric sharpener and a little hand crank sharpener.
Oh, nice. The hand crank ones were great.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah. Throw it in your binder, that little plastic bag in your binder.
Yes.
Yeah,
I saved the shavings.
Yes.
I like the stationary one that's it's not exactly mechanical. Yeah, it's a hand crank.
Yes.
Oh, you have to go.
Those used to be connected to the walls in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The smell... taking me back.
Nostalgia.
I'd always volunteer to empty the shavings.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
I wonder how much technology is going to change very rapidly and how many things like that are going to be a part of the past. Used to be that you had to go get your film developed on cameras. You had to go wait weeks to get your pictures back. And now you realize the iPhone, do you know how old the iPhone is?
No.
It's 10 years old. Everything has changed in those 10 years. Everything. Technologically, the rate of speed, we have all become addicted to our devices in the last 10 years. Something that did not, it's so staggering to me to watch it happen because something that was not available 10 years ago is now the hottest new drug. And it's weird. It's like, it's as if some sort of drug were to make an appearance right now that was the best thing you've ever seen, far beyond heroin or any drug you've ever known. And it was just invented. The drugs are what the drugs have been for a long time. The technology are what the technology have been for a long time. But Apple changed everything 10 years ago in a way that's stupefying and was rapid. And I wonder when the pencil is going to become extinct. And I wonder how many other things like that are going to become extinct.
I think the pencil's always going to be there. It's going to be swept back in by nostalgia. Just
especially
like,
those zebra pencils. Yeah, always going to be, there's always going to be a place for pencils in our society.
Thank you for that.
Put that on the poll, please. Is there always going to be a place for pencils in our society?
SAT test, right? You still need a number 2 pencil.
Oh, but I think those are going to be computerized eventually.
Oh, you can hack those. No, you can't hack a number 2
Wait a
pencil.
minute. You believe that that's where technology stops on SAT tests?
Yes.
Like we're going to be doing it that
You're
way?
still dipping in the Scantron.
The bubbles.
Wait a minute. You guys, okay, so that's interesting. That everything would change technologically in the last 10 years except for SAT tests. That
still going to have to bubble in a Scantron.
Bubble in it.
So 100 years from now, the robots are going to be bubbling in a Scantron.
I think we're already there with the SATs, Mike. You might want to look up. You might want to check. Yeah, just
kids these days don't know
maybe.
the joy.
Mike,
of
this is what I'm telling you.
Your
What I am
full
telling
name.
you is, Mike, let it wash over you right now. while you were at Lollapalooza watching Chance the Rapper, not understanding why young people like Chance the Rapper, that is your midlife crisis. That right there is the spot where the tipping point on you getting old.
I'll tell you what, you know where there will always be a need for a good pencil? Golf course.
Nice.
There
golf
you go.
course.
Golf course.
Yeah.
Golf course.
I love
Small pencils, but pencils nonetheless.
Architecture,
yes.
too.
Yeah.
Well, the miniature pencil has its own delights.
Crossword puzzles.
Wonderful.
You don't want to go into a crossword puzzle just with your ink.
Right. Give yourself benefit of doubt. You might make an error. That's why I love golf pencils with erasers. You know, I get a snowman. I may change it to a 7.
Exactly.
Just depends on my mood.
Just put the 7 down.
Yeah,
snowman.
There's golf lingo there. Good on ya. Pencils.
Go ahead and put it on the poll, please. Are you a jerk if you refer to an 8 as a snowman? Okay,
it's the only way to refer to it. In golf language, it's the only way. Snowman.
Bad ally to have here, Cody. You don't want Stugatz rushing in to defend your choice of words.
Well, I get snowmen. I'm a bad golfer. Stugatz isn't.
You can't refer. You're a jerk. Yes or no? You're a jerk if you refer to an 8 as a snowman when you can just say 8.
Oh, so many snowmen, especially when the course dog legs out the back, man.
Dogging it. Yep.
I love the sunburned snowman who runs the UFC.
Dan Le Batard.
I love me some doctors. Have a lot of respect for the medical profession.
Stugatz.
Except chiropractors.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Oh, we're in here smiling because ESPNU has become ESPN The Ocho, ESPN 8, a dodgeball reference, and we just saw the heavyweight champion of arm wrestling. And, of course, he gets a giant hammer as his reward, and it was amazing. And I believe that today is the birthplace of a new network.
Yep.
Because this stuff is fun to watch. These obscure sports, if you're just sitting around doing nothing and you could just watch two guys arm wrestle at the height of the heavyweight challenge, like that should crush us in the ratings. It's better than we are. That's what you should be watching. Go now, wherever you are. If you're watching on ESPN News, go to ESPNU. It is much better than what we're doing here. The Ocho.
ESPN Snowman.
Yes. Deserved it.
See, that's good radio, Cody.
Congratulations.
That right there is good radio.
Right.
Do it more, please.
Yes, I'll try.
I think post back in my day, you're better post back in my day than you are pre back in my day. There's something about waiting around for back in my day. You're just not good.
It's an adrenaline rush. I'm on a high right now.
Right.
I want to ask you guys this question because not around the horn, First Take put up on the screen that I supported Colin Kaepernick over Jay Cutler, and they turned it into something to debate about. And it's not exactly a misrepresentation because I would have signed Kaepernick if I were the Dolphins. Younger, similar quarterbacks. I'm not afraid of the social nonsense, but I understand why they went a different route. My largest point about all this stuff as it relates specifically to Cutler and Kaepernick is I don't have a very strong opinion. My opinion is like, both of them kind of the same. And so my opinion isn't strong on this.
Right. Well, I have a strong opinion on it. I do. Because if Adam Gase is considered this guy who can make quarterbacks great, and apparently he is that guy. He did it with Peyton Manning towards the end of his career. He did it the 1 year with Jay Cutler. He did it last year with Ryan Tannehill. If you're that good, if you have that skill, you can make quarterbacks better. Don't you want to try and make Colin Kaepernick the guy he was under Jim Harbaugh?
The younger, yes. Like that would be, if you are that guy, the younger guy with the skill set that's mobile, because you have no future with Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler has been through the disposal bin.
You also don't know the future of Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
Because of the surgery and because the Dolphins could let him go next year.
That's one of the reasons why I thought Kaepernick would have been a better signing than Cutler is the idea that, are they done with Tannehill? This is going to be a subject for a year from now. He's got the same knee injury 2 times in a row now. His contract's really catapulting into the stratosphere. Are they going to continue with him? Cutler's 34. That's pretty young now for a quarterback. That's no longer over the hill when you got guys like Tom Brady at 40, Peyton Manning was still good at age 38. Conceivably, if Cutler has a great season, I could very much see the Dolphins keeping him. I could also see them drafting a quarterback. But Kaepernick, you're right, has a much better upside in terms of a guy you can develop into your future quarterback.
He's just young. He's young. He could be. I mean, Dan, he could be your quarterback if you're that good and you get him to a place where Kaepernick is really good again. Then he could be your quarterback down here for 7 or 8 years. I find it amazing that this is where we are with this because I told you what the Jay Cutler resume was earlier in the show. Ton of turnovers. Like if I know people are saying that Colin Kaepernick comes with baggage, and he does as it relates to this one issue that is supposed to be about race, but people have turned into it's about being un-American.
Yeah. Right.
But the resume of Jay Cutler makes him a punchline and a laughing stock of a pariah. The resume, if I were to simply tell you that the following is true of Colin Kaepernick, not Jay Cutler, all of the following is true of Colin Kaepernick. These are the things that you would be saying about why Kaepernick doesn't have a job that keeps him blackballed. You'd be saying one playoff win in his career. That's Cutler, not Kaepernick.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be saying everybody wonders how much he actually cares about the sport. That's Cutler. That's not Kaepernick. Coming off of shoulder surgery. That's Cutler, not Kaepernick.
Right.
You're not sure how anyone feels about him as a teammate, as someone who cares. If Colin Kaepernick had Jay Cutler's resume, we would be crushing him at every turn, saying it was about everything except what this is actually about.
But you give some benefit of doubt to Adam Gase and the fact that he knows Cutler better than most people. Dolphin fans think very highly of Gase, so they're going to give him benefit of doubt. If he thinks that Cutler's better than his public persona, then you sort of trust him to be right.
Because he would know.
Yeah.
And to your point, Jay Cutler was out of football, and nobody was talking about him being blackballed. He was retired and in a broadcasting career.
We understood.
We understood, and this was literally the only spot in the NFL where it made any sort of sense.
Well, the Jets were interested in Cutler. He wasn't interested in the Jets. They were. I mean, the Jets were interested in Cutler before he went to Fox.
But as a symbol for Greg Cody of the Miami Herald and journalism and newspapers in general, Greg Cody was headed to the Jay Cutler press conference yesterday, and then he was attacked by his cat in a way that heroically required stitches, but because he's so tough, he didn't go get stitches. He just bandaged it up.
Yeah.
And then he also got
also
got into a car accident on the way and never made it to the Jay Cutler press conference.
I'll do anything to avoid it.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cody on ESPN Radio.
Hi, everyone. Stu Gatz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugatz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Epix presents the new original series, Get Shorty.
You asked me to make a movie with cash.
That a problem?
It's perfect, isn't it?
You're only as good as your next hit. Chris O'Dowd and Ray Romano, Get Shorty. Premieres Sunday, 10/9 Central on Epix.
Don Le Batard.
Mike, how'd you feel that went? Was that okay for you?
No, what do you think about it? Huh? What do you think? Since you think you're being smart a little bit about it, what do you think I went?
No, not being smart. I would not do that to Mike Tyson. I'm not being smart. No, sir. I say it in the most respectful way possible.
Well, you're the interviewer, so you tell me how it went, buddy.
Stugats.
I'm sorry if I've upset you, Mike. Thank you for being on with us.
No, you didn't upset me, because if you upset me, you would have known about it.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
And finally, being single can kill you faster than if you were obese and should be considered a public health risk. Experts have warned. Those with bad social connections have a 50% increased risk of early death compared to those with good social connections. A review of studies on loneliness suggests researchers in the U.S. looked at 218 studies into the health effects of loneliness and social isolation. They discovered that social isolation raised a person's risk of death by half compared to obesity, which raised the risk of death by just 30%. If you are single and obese, well, you're bleeped. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Put it on the poll. I don't think of single as synonymous with lonely, but go ahead and put it on the poll. Is single synonymous with lonely? Yes or no? Because I don't do that one in my head, because I am single, but I don't think anybody who looked at my life would describe it as lonely.
Single is synonymous with joy.
I mean, it's synonymous for me with freedom, but I'm just curious. I don't mean to be defensive about this. Ron, Ron has been happily married for many years, is very much in love. Is single synonymous with loneliness to you, Ron?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's a big difference between being single and being lonely. Now, some people who are single are lonely, but I myself love my alone time.
Yep.
So
I'm married and lonely.
Brian, you're on with Ron McGill of Zoo Miami. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Ron, I love you. I want to ask you a question. I saw someplace that 90% of koala bears have a sexually transmitted disease. I was wanting to know if there's any other animal that's just tripping with an STD besides the koala.
Well, it's interesting. The koala, first of all, it's a koala, not a koala bear. We got to try to get that bear thing out of there. Everybody calls them koala bears. But yes, the STD they have is chlamydia, and it does wipe out entire populations of koalas. It's one of the biggest threats they face in the wild because it is sexually transmitted and so contagious. Having said that, there are certain primates that carry a strain of herpes that actually they can carry it as just carriers. But if transmitted to human beings, it is a strain of herpes that can be fatal to humans. On the flip side, the common herpes simplex virus that humans carry, that produces cold sores on your lips, for instance, can be fatal to animals like gorillas or some other primates. So there are certain strains of the herpes virus that can be carried as just a carrier in an animal, in a primate, without it showing any symptoms that can be fatal to a human, and vice versa. If a human is shedding the herpes simplex virus that we carry without any adverse effects except for these sores that heal up, it can be fatal to a primate.
Tyler, you're on with Ron McGill of Zoo Miami. Go ahead, Tyler.
Hey, Ron, we have a cat that is the vet considered a stone maker, and at a 1.5 old kitten, he had to have a sex change operation to survive. Is that common, and have you ever heard of that?
I've heard of it. It certainly is not common. And I tip my hat to people like yourself who are willing to go through that expense to provide a good life for the animal. I wish there were more pet owners like you. It's certainly not common, but I have heard of it.
Ron, obviously down here in South Florida, big snake stories out in like Pembroke Pines and that area where dangerous snakes are popping up in people's lawns all over the place. What's happening? What should people know? And what can people do?
Well, here in South Florida, we live alongside a lot of wild areas with a lot of development going out towards the west coast.
They want their land back. Let's be honest about this. The snakes want their land back, and they should have it back, and they're going to kill until they get it back.
Stop it. Stop it, Dan. We can coexist with these animals.
You built your cul-de-sac where it was the snakes' home, and now the snakes are mad, and they're going to end you.
Oh, my God. What's happening now is that with the rains, a lot of these animals, especially snakes, that like to get, under the primary surface of dirt, are kind of getting flooded out of their homes. So they're looking for higher land. They're coming up to areas where, of course, when you build a home, what do? You buy a lot of fill because you don't want your home to be flooded, so it's up on higher land. So these snakes are going up to higher land. They're having these conflicts. People are seeing them. Here's the bottom line, folks. There's no such thing as a snake that's going to attack you, okay? No such thing, Dan, no matter what you want to say or believe. The bottom line is snakes are more afraid of you than you are of them. If you give them the option to escape, they always will escape.
What if I sit on a toilet and it's in the toilet?
What? Well, hopefully before you sit on the toilet, you look in the toilet.
It wants its land back, and I don't blame it. And if it wants to get its land back to my toilet, that's smart because I'm vulnerable.
Dan, you are pretty vulnerable there. Anyway, the bottom line is this, guys. Let them have a way to get away, and they will get away. 99.9% of snake bites are animals that have been stepped on or people engaging with the snake one way or another. Leave the snake alone. With that in mind, the overwhelming majority of snakes in South Florida are not venomous, okay? They are not dangerous to people. Give them an escape pattern, they'll take it. We're having some concerns now with water moccasins, cottonmouths, the same type of snake basically, because of all this water happening now with the rains. The best thing I can tell you again, folks, is just leave them alone. Do not try to kill it. Do not try to engage with it. Do not try to shoo it away with a broom or anything. That is going to get you hurt. Give it an option to go away, and it will. I promise.
Ron, I read that adult cats meow only at humans, not at other cats. Is that true, and what would explain that? And are there other examples of animal communication peculiarities like that?
You know, Greg, that's interesting because I've never heard that before. I'm not saying it's not true. I guess most of the time we hear cats meow. We hear them meow when we're around, so we assume they're meowing to us. But the bottom line is I've also seen some video of cats when they breed and when they're courting to each other, and they certainly make some sounds to each other at that time. It's kind of like a that type of, and it's to each other. It's not to a human being. So I would suspect that cats vocalize to each other. The meowing is something that may be associated with getting food. You know, people hear a cat meow and they say, "Oh, it must be hungry. I'm going to give it food." And the cat says, "Hey, when I meowed, I got food." So all of a sudden, there's an association there. It's like creating a bridge. You're training the cat, or should I say that the cat is training you to do something when it meows, and then people come to the conclusion, "Oh, they only meow at people."
Danny, you're on with Ron McGill of Zoo Miami. Go ahead, Danny.
Hey, Ron. So I recall hearing you and Dan discuss who would win, a hippo or a rhino. Now, you kind of blasted Dan because he chose the hippo, and you chose the rhino. Well, I recently seen a video where a rhino got destroyed by a hippo.
That's right.
I want to know your thoughts on that.
That's right. What are your thoughts on that? Because I put a couple hippos in the box, and your hippo's not going anywhere. I'm crowding the box. I'm Alabama on Leonard Fournette. I'm crowding the box. Your hippo's not going anywhere. Your rhino's not going anywhere.
Weird when we arrived here. You're very contentious with Ron McGill.
Well, because
let me tell you something, Batard. Let me tell you something. First of all, that is the exception as opposed to the rule. Okay, that is the exception as opposed to the rule. Okay, Spud Webb could dunk the ball, but I'll take LeBron James anytime. Okay,
good boy, Ron.
Very good, Ron.
No, I don't believe that works at all. I'm putting a couple of hippos in the box.
Of course it works. Of course it works. Okay, on a rare occasion, Spud will get by LeBron. On a rare occasion, he'll get by him. Okay. But 9 times out of 10, what's going to happen, Dan? Come on, Mr. Sportsman. What's going to happen?
My team's going to win because I've got the hippos as my defense.
But LeBron won't get past J.J. Barea.
That's right.
Ever.
And then I'm going to get another hippo. I'm going to go to Oklahoma City and get a hippo from there, and I'm going to put him at defensive tackle. And now what are you going to do? Anyway, let's watch the video.
Who would win a fight, a hippo or Spud Webb?
Let's watch the video. All right, get out of here, Cody.
Geez.
Get out of here for ruining the segment.
A good half-hour stretch.
Get out of here. Penalty box for Greg Cody.
Greg Cody, 2 minutes in the box.
Go ahead.
The video. Okay. Oh, it's a rhino in the middle of the street. It's an Indian rhino. It's running down a paved road. This has got to be in India or it's got away from zoo someplace. But this is a rhino running down the middle of the street, and there's a car coming the other way. It's a white car. That guy must be going, "Holy jeez, what's going to happen here? Is it a game of chicken?" Oh no, the guy turns off to the side. He pulls off the side of the road. The rhino looks at him, opens his mouth, and keeps on going down the road. Meanwhile, the guy is following him in the car. He's coming. More cars coming, and they're going, "Holy jeez, it's a freaking rhino on the road." These people must have thought they got into some bad peyote or something because they're looking at it, and then, he charges the car, and the car pulls over again. Nobody's going to challenge this rhino. He's going into a gallop now. He won't go off the road. He's got beautiful grass. Another red car. Oh no, this guy. Oh, the guy behind him's turning around. He's doing a 3-point U-turn. Get out of here! It's a rhino. The other guy's going to reverse. Almost smashes into the guy in the white car trying to do the 3-point turn, and the guy's going off into the grass. home because all these people just soiled their cars.
Wow. Yes, excellent work by
so good.
by Ron McGill on the play-by-play of a video he is watching.
Make me a bicycle, clown.
Why has Cody been so bad today?
I don't know.
Everyone could use a good suit. No one, however, wants to go to a department store to find one. If department stores exist anymore, do they?
He must be recovering from his cat attack and car accident. He had a very rough one.
That's the excuse.
The best place to find a suit is the Black Tux. Tell them, Stugatz.
Do they have department stores? I think they do. I think
they
Macy's
still have department stores,
yeah.
but wait, just give Bezos a minute.
Exactly.
Give him a minute. We won't have him very long.
He's going to buy them all.
Don Le Batard.
Have you guys heard this story? Baz Rutten fighting a dog?
Well, I've never heard of Baz Rutten, so.
Baz Rutten's been on the show, Stugatz. Like the idea
whatever.
that you've never heard of him. He's been on the show several times.
Stugatz.
Is that B-O-Z?
It's B-A-S.
Yes.
B-A-S. All right. I was, because there's Boz Skaggs.
Boy, you guys are dragging this thing right into the quicksand.
Well, why are you pronouncing it Boz, though?
Right.
Probably like Baz or something.
Exactly.
Bass.
B-A-S, right?
Bass Rutten.
Boz would connote a Z, right?
Right. Yeah, it's like a
suggest
Scandinavian
Z. Yeah,
name.
like Boz, like Bosworth.
Boss
Yeah.
Rutten.
B-O-Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue.
Something about a dog?
What's the dog's name?
Speedy.
Speedy Rutten.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugatz on ESPN Radio.
Jason Taylor, Hall of Famer, in about 15 minutes. If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show on demand in the ESPN app, plus our Miami-only hour that airs before the show, and now you can subscribe to our Best of Podcasts. It's all available in the Listen tab of the ESPN app.
So Josh Rosen of UCLA, he's one of the best young quarterbacks I've ever seen. He was featured in a long conversation with Bleacher Report covering many different things. And one of the quotes that people are running with, and I'm always hesitant to cover college athletes the way that we cover pro athletes, but anyway, this is one of the stars of football. The West Coast is very excited about this guy playing quarterback for UCLA. And he says, quote, "Look, football and school don't go together. They just don't. Trying to do both is like trying to do 2 full-time jobs. There are guys who have no business being in school, but they're here because this is the path to the NFL. There's no other way." Then there's the other side that says raise the SAT eligibility requirements. Okay, raise the SAT requirement at Alabama and see what kind of team they have. You lose athletes, and then the product on the field suffers. Cody, your thoughts on what Josh Rosen, the UCLA quarterback, said?
It's hard to disagree with him, but at the same time, I think college athletics is not for the 1% who have a chance to play in the NFL. It's for the 99% who aren't going to play beyond college, but who, because of college football, are almost forced to get an education or almost forced to get a degree that they'll actually need in life. Whereas the 1% won't.
Greg, when you go to one of those big schools, I'm guessing all those guys think eventually they're going to the NFL. When they're in high school, I'm guessing all of those guys think they're going to make it to the NFL.
Right, and?
Well, because Greg is saying it's for the 99% who don't make it to the NFL, at least they get a college education.
Right.
No, I think first off, what Rosen is saying is totally fine, and I agree with it. And Lou Holtz said he wouldn't take the Notre Dame job until they loosened up the academic restrictions at Notre Dame.
But this was actually interesting. Lou Holtz, actually, while he was at Notre Dame, was really uncomfortable because the athletic department kept making the standards for academics harder. And he's like, hey, if you want me to compete, you have to lower this. You have to lower this because there are very few schools. I wanted to ask you more about the second part of the quote than the first. I'm more interested in the idea of, if you lower academic requirements, are you going to be Auburn? How many Stanfords can there be? Stanford's the only one that pulls that off consistently, where they're close to the top, not really, but they're hovering around the top, and they're the only ones with the academic requirements, where even David Shaw says, why the hell am I going to go have a camp over there near Auburn? None of those guys can get into my school.
Right.
We're not going to hold a camp in a state in which one person might be eligible to attend.
Right, that's what David Shaw, the Stanford coach, actually said. Why am I going to have a football clinic there? That's so condescending. It's amazing. It's just an amazing
it's condescending. It's also the truth.
I have the entire quote right here.
It's just a great
It doesn't make sense for us to go hold a camp someplace where there might be one person in the entire state that's eligible to go get into Stanford.
But Stanford's the only one who does it that way, right? They're the outlier. You have to, if you want to be at Auburn or Alabama, you better lower your academic standards.
You have to.
But at that point, though, it ceases to be what Cody's talking about, which is the utopian 99% of people who are getting an education, because the ones that matter are the 1%. The ones that actually matter and fund that entire sport are the 1% that are going to get to the pros and are your stars and are your Josh Rosen.
The Julio Joneses is what you're saying.
Okay, so why is Duke great in men's basketball but not in football?
I was actually going to use them as an example. In football, they're starting to turn it around, too. They've made it to ACC championship football games.
Yep. There's enough smart, great players to go around, right? They don't all go to Stanford. I mean, if you're a great coach at Duke or someplace like that, and you recruit well, eventually you can raise your program.
Oh, but I think that there aren't enough of those guys to go around. I think Stanford and Duke get to be Stanford and Duke because they're the places where if you're really good and you're really smart,
that's where you're going.
That's where you go, and it sort of ends up feeding itself, where Duke has now become a basketball power because that is where the intelligent, great basketball player, you're going to one place. You're going to Duke. The intelligent, great football player, like super intelligent, above average intelligence by human standards, not by football player or athlete standards, by smart people standards.
Sure. I mean, maybe there'll be another with Northwestern who was very good last year. Maybe, because that's a very good school.
Northwestern's a good school that's never been any good at any of the sports.
Every time I hear Andrew Luck speak, I'm shocked he went to Stanford.
Come on, man.
His voice just does not give off Stanford.
I mean, how many people
or
at
his
Stanford?
Neckbeard.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the spittle when he gets excited.
I was going to say, you think everyone at Stanford drools?
Or he drools when he sleeps, or the drool when he sleeps, or the pituitary issue. Do you have any sound there from Andrew Luck that you could play? And so the question is, put it on the poll, Stanford or not Stanford. Find whatever sound of Andrew Luck that you want where he sounds a little pituitary.
Change is part of the NFL, and now I have no sense of anything. Yeah.
Went to Stanford.
How did you find the perfect sound? Or is it because all of the sound that comes out of Andrew Luck's mouth is perfectly pituitary?
Change is part of the NFL, and now I have no sense of anything. Yeah.
Don Le Batard.
Come in here and tickle. Hurry up and tickle him till the end of the segment.
Dr. McGillicuddy said this could be bad for my heart. Could be bad for my heart.
Stugats.
I'm having a heart attack.
Tickle him more. Tickle him more. Right to the end of the segment.
Heart attack in it.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugats on ESPN Radio.
Happy for him. It was pretty cool this weekend watching all of that, watching him get cracked open.
He stole the show, man. It was the best speech of the night.
He was great. You'd be saying that to LaDainian Tomlinson and Jerry Jones if they were here as well.
Yeah, well, not Jerry. Definitely LaDainian, but no way would I say it to Jerry, man. Get out of here.
Who's Jason? Whose was the best?
I mean, I got no respect for LT, man.
Right. I mean, thank God Jason finally got to speak. I didn't think Kenny Easley was ever going to shut up, to be honest with you.
And honestly, with Tomlinson, I mean, who signs with the Jets to ring chase at the end of their career?
Okay, enough.
What?
Jason, whose was the best speech of the night?
First of all, is it really that dysfunctional in the studio?
Yes.
Or is it just
yes. No, it's
like
that. Yes, it is. We're just yelling at each other.
We're bad.
Complete disarray.
Yeah.
Yes, complete. It's always. My brother described this the other way. All our shows, they're all hanging on by a thread. Like that's part of the appeal. Everything's just held together by a thread. Everything I do professionally.
You never know what you're going to get with you guys.
That's right.
What was the question? I forgot the question. Stu guys keeps talking, interrupting, and I forgot.
It was the best speech of the night. Dan wanted to know what you thought.
Whose was the best speech of the night?
Yeah.
Listen, they were all great. I didn't think Kenny was actually the shortest speech. I think Kenny went 22 minutes, and then the teleprompter went out on him, so he kind of got stuck. Which kind of sucked for him. But I went a lot longer than I thought, but I thought everybody has their own story and had a chance to share it. So I'm not in the business of rating speeches, but what came out came out.
All right, I want to talk to you about that stuff and celebrate and congratulate you. But I've always found you interesting on all topics when you're unburdened. And I'm just curious, like when I tell you there's going to be a picketing outside of the NFL offices, a rally for Colin Kaepernick, your thoughts there are what? I don't mean to blindside you with this, but I know you have strong opinions on things. I didn't know whether you had a strong opinion here or not.
I mean that's fine. It's no big deal. I don't think it's going to change a whole lot. If you want to picket or protest or whatever, I think you need to go to each respective club and do it in front of everybody's facility. I mean, the NFL in Park Avenue is not the one signing Kaepernick to play for them this year, or not signing Kaepernick. So, he's for whatever reason he's not on a football team. People can call it race or the issue of that what he took a stance for last year, or people don't want the distraction. You can't really liken it to a Tim Tebow because Tebow brought a distraction, but the talent level was a little different. So it's, people want to protest or whatever. It's fine.
But you don't have a strong opinion one way or the other on what's happening with Kaepernick. We can move it on. I'm fine at moving on.
No, I mean, you can move it on. I don't, if he's good enough to play, he should be playing somewhere. Teams think he can't play, then that's different. But for owners to not bring him in because they may view him as unpatriotic, I think is bullcrap.
There it is. There's the opinion at the end there. Okay, it took us a while of some digging, and there's the opinion.
I mean, listen, everyone. This is America. Everyone is allowed to have a voice. You could have a voice, and if you're convicted enough about something, you want to stand up for it and fight for it, then that's fine. Not everyone's going to agree with you. I mean, not everyone agrees with Trump or agree with Obama or whatnot. So, there's going to be a portion of society that is very unpopular with, and you have to be willing to deal with those things. So maybe that's part of what he's dealing with here. Do I think it's fair? No, but is it the facts? Yes.
What is the most emotional moment that you had over the entirety of the week there, the week-long celebration of the end of your career? It had to be nostalgic and a piece of it sort of bittersweet, right? You get youth again, but it's also over, and we're closing the book.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of emotions, a lot of fun, first of all, but a lot of emotions. I think the toughest part was really the hour and a half before we went out to give our speeches, and to get our, do the whole thing, getting the bus and all that. I'll be honest, that was the first time I really practiced my speech. It was about an hour and a half or 2 hours before. I had obviously read through it, but never practiced. I didn't want to rehearse it. I had an idea of what I was saying, where I wanted to go with it. Gratitude being the theme, but the 2 hours before the enshrinement, when I read through it and got emotional in my hotel room reading through it, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a rough one. Like, I'm sitting in a room by myself. Actually, Seth Levitt was sitting with me, and I started crying like a baby, and I'm like, it's hitting me now.
Jason, that theme you used, 20 years to get 20 miles, was a really nice touch. I wonder, during the speech, you seem to get the most emotional to me and sort of struggle for composure when you were talking about your three kids. Why? It may be obvious, but why was that tough for you to speak about that? Well,
they're my life. I mean, everything I do now with my life is dictated by the kids' schedule. Being with them, I want to be with them 24/7. It's just, I'm obsessed and addicted and infatuated with my kids and being a father. Not necessarily living their life, but being in their life. They need to live their own lives, and my sons play football and need to kind of forge their own path and not worry about who dad was or what dad did for a living. But I want to be in their lives, and I didn't have that growing up. I never knew my father, never had those fatherly moments. The tough ones, the disciplinary ones, the ones where you confide in them, and get advice. The ones that you talk about girls with them, or you talk about cars, or whatever it is. All those experiences that I'm having now as a father are like, priceless to me. My kids, it's amazing. My kids can make me cry anytime. Just some of the little things they do. We're walking the other day in Canton, we were leaving an event or something, and we're walking kind of underground. They have kind of an underground walkway where you can get away from the crowds and be able to expressly get out to the parking lot. And we're walking, and my 13-year-old son, Mason, just reaches over and grabs my hand and starts holding my hand. And we're walking in the hallway with security and people, and there's a bunch of people around. And my 13-year-old grabs my hand, and like I instantly, he did it like it was nothing. And I get teared up, and my older son looks at me and starts smiling. He's like, "Why are you crying?" I'm like, "Your brother just grabbed my hand." Like it's those moments that, as you could tell the way I'm talking, it's
Give us some more of those. Give us some more of those stories. Give me the most embarrassing time ever where Jason Taylor gets sentimental, nostalgic, and blubbering, and he's looking at himself and he's like, "What happened to me? I was a gladiator. Now look at me."
Kids will do it to you, man.
I mean, it happens all the time. I can't even tell you. It's I mean, heck, the dude's on the stage and on national TV, trying to talk, and a couple people saw my speech before, so they kind of know how it was laid out, and there was parts of the story where about teammates or I had things written. Well, there was a part when I got to my family that I didn't write anything out. I just wanted to speak from the heart and ad lib, and it was listed to me my siblings, and then they had my kids, and I jotted a few notes down for my siblings, a couple of little things. For my kids, I tried to start writing stuff down an hour and a half before the speech, and I got teary-eyed. And I'm like, "What are you doing? Stop. Okay, just write down some bullet points, and when you get up there, you don't freeze." Well, I didn't write anything down. I got up on the stage, and as soon as I finished talking about my little brother, and it was time to address my children, I looked over, and just above the teleprompter was my daughter's face, and her eyes were, big and bluish green, staring at me, and that's why I had to take a pause. I took the pause, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make it. Like I can't even get a word out, and it just those times happen all the time, and it's the greatest, like I said, the greatest honor and job and joy in my life is being a father, and I just don't get how people can have a child and not be there for them. I don't understand how a man can have a kid and not provide for them. I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about emotionally and physically being around and walking, be able to walk by and shoulder check your son into the wall, or put your arm around your daughter and hug her. We fly on the plane coming home yesterday, and she comes and lays on top of me and wants to take a nap on me. It's just the love and affection I have for them and that they give to me makes my life so much fuller than any football accolade or Hall of Fame can ever do.
Jason, we got just about 30 seconds here. We're very happy for you. Hall of Famer Jason Taylor with us. The Daniel Snyder line in your Hall of Fame speech, ad lib, or were you sitting on that one for a while? Because it was a great line by you.
No, that was ad lib, and I don't know if anybody knows, but Dan saw my speech before, and Dan helped me out with some stuff. But no, that was complete ad lib. I saw Dan at Jerry Jones' party the night before, and we had a really long talk and really long hug and conversation in the party, and he was apologizing to me that the fit wasn't right, and there was some disarray, and I was apologizing to him for, in essence, stealing money and not giving him enough plays. That's just how I always felt. I didn't play for the money, and I felt like I didn't give him his money's worth.
Jason, is it true that Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones sort of ended their feud a little bit in Canton?
I'll say this: it was very, very important, and I think big that Jimmy was there, and Jerry, and he spent some time. Jerry spoke about him at length in his speech. Jimmy was around Emmett again, and Michael Irvin, and Charles Haley, and all those guys, and it was special. People were coming by, knowing Jimmy was my presenter, and Jimmy got dang near more love than I did from the Hall of Famers and the guys there. So I think it was very important.
We are out of time here. Just real quick, anybody when you got off the stage that you're like, "Ooh, I forgot. I should have thanked them."
Me, maybe.
Yes, there. Yes, there were people I forgot. No, Stugat, sorry, it wasn't me. But if we listen, I promise you, if they gave us 4 hours to speak, I would fit your name in there somewhere.
Thank you.
Jason, thank you for being on with us. Congratulations. Genuinely happy for you.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
All right, Jason.
I appreciate it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
We will end the show next segment by updating all of the polls as we do at the end of every show. At Le Batard Show is where you vote on the polls. Greg Cody of the Miami Herald in with us. And Stugotz likes to say the Stugotz is strong in you, or everyone's got a little bit of Stugotz in them. And I'm telling you right now that I, during the break, may have exhibited having a little more Stugotz in me that even I care to admit. Because while we were talking to Jason Taylor, did you guys, this is funny, what I'm about to admit here is funny. Did you guys notice that Jason Taylor said that I helped him with his speech? Because he was talking about Dan Gilbert, and he said, Dan helped me with my speech, or Dan Snyder,
I
rather.
thought he mentioned Dan Snyder helped him with his speech.
No, I helped him with his
Really?
speech, right?
Oh,
but
yes.
I wanted that clarification made. I don't want people to think it was Dan Snyder who helped him with his speech. I want people to know that he was saying that.
How's it feel, buddy boy?
It feels disgusting. I feel ashamed.
What a great speech that Dan Snyder helped craft.
Yeah, I didn't know Snyder could write that well.
Best of the night.
But it was such a conflict, right? Because I did not want to reveal to anybody. That felt like it would be really uncomfortable. And by the way, he wrote that speech. All I did was just edit it. Like he did that. All I did was like take out words. I was not writing the thoughts in that speech for him.
If you say so.
But once he mentioned it, I'm like, would you like to mention it a little more clearly? I don't think people understand.
I'm so proud
And I just felt so disgusting as the Stugotz creeped up in me. And I asked Cody, we were in the break room, and I asked Cody, I'm like, did you realize that he said I helped him with his speech? And he's like, no, Dan Snyder helped him with his speech. I'm like, no, I must correct this immediately. I need people to know this. Now that he's admitting it, I was protecting him.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. It was so hard to protect him. I wanted to tell everybody. I wanted to shout it from the mountaintops. I wanted to interrupt the speech, run out there and say, hey, I helped.
That's the way Cody. Can you imagine if Cody wrote Jason Taylor's speech?
So many references to himself.
Right. Every 5 minutes, Jason would have been going, you never know. Did I think I was...
This was the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Hi, everyone. Stugotz here. Support for the Dan Le Batard Show podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you are confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, and your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you the same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you are getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz. That's rocketmortgage.com/Stugotz, STUGOTZ, equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.